Hi everybody, Sharyl Attkisson here. I hope you enjoy this special From the Archives edition of Full Measure After Hours. Hi everybody, Sharyl Attkisson here. Welcome to another edition of Full Measure After Hours. Today, why it's so important to break ourselves from our Chinese chip addiction. I went all the way to Germany to profile a major movement. It has to do with our unhealthy addiction to Chinese chips. And by that I mean computer chips. We need and use them every day in our cars, our smartphones, all kinds of devices. And the supply chain problems revealed during the COVID shutdowns, they exposed our unwise reliance on an adversary for something so important. Sunday on Full Measure, that's November 13th, I'll have my full report on this topic. It turns out that about 80% of these crucial chips are made in China, about 10% in Europe, and about 10% in the US. Now, Taiwan, which is considered a Chinese region, makes 2/3 of the global supply. With current tensions between Taiwan and China controlling the island chain of Taiwan, the chip-making imbalance poses national defense concerns here. Anyway, I went to Dresden, Germany to visit a region known as Silicon Saxony, where they're ramping up things in a big way. First, we'll hear from Thomas Kralinski, Saxony's State Secretary for Economic Affairs. Can you characterize how active things are in terms of the tech industry in Saxony now? What's happening right now?
We are like a rather small state, but we have a very active scene when it comes to technology. We have we call it Silicon Saxony. And it comes actually already from the communist East German times, where we had productions and development of semiconductors here as well. This was sort of the base for everything what came in the last 30 years. We live in a very sort of challenging times. We have to readjust the way we live, the way we work, the way we drive, the way we learn, because everything has to do with digitalization, and it has to do with reducing our footprint, our climate footprint. And in order to do it, in order to adjust to climate change, we have to think about new industries like mobility, like batteries, like renewable energies. And for all this, you need semiconductors. So to have here in Dresden a scene or a branch which centers around technology and microelectronic is a cornerstone for everything else what is there in the modern world. And we are very proud to have it here, and we take care of it.
I'm under the impression there's a lot of expansion of production going on in terms of microprocessing chips and this sort of high-tech business. Is there a great deal of expansion and building going on now in that arena?
We had in the last couple of years already some expansion. For example, Bosch, which is the newest production site we have. But all of the firms are thinking, or on the way of thinking, of expanding their facilities. We had Intel that just decided not to come to Dresden, but to Magdeburg, which is just 200 kilometers away from here. And all of them are thinking about expanding their production because we need more chips. And I think Europe is thinking more about being sovereign when it comes to producing chips. We have about 1/3 of the European production of chips here in Dresden, which is quite a lot. But on a worldwide scale, it's not too much, and it can be more.
What does it mean to Saxony in particular to have more focus on shipbuilding capacity in this area, more attention and more expansion of it?
It means that we have to look after our universities. We have a very good, elite university, technical university here in Dresden, which is very important for the tech industry. We have to have a focus in research and development. That means we look after, as a state, we also look after their needs, and we try to build or to support networks within the community. Silicon Saxony is a network in itself, but we are sort of a part of it, and we also look and try to support enterprises, firms, small and medium enterprises in particular, that they can develop as well. And sometimes they need a little support when it comes to research, development, and these kind of things.
What sorts of things is the state doing to try to attract more business? Are they giving incentives and tax breaks, things like that?
We do indeed give incentives. We take care about developing infrastructure when it comes, for example, to roads or the water supply, electricity supply. We try to speed up everything that has to do with administration. We also try to help or to build an environment that people come here in order that they like the area, they like the city. This is also important today, and the state is playing an important role as well.
Next, Intel's Big Germany initiative. Now we will hear from Monika Lischke in Berlin. She is with chipmaker Intel. Can you explain what a semiconductor is, or what is a chip and why it's so important?
A chip is like a very small component. Usually we're embedded in a different system. I think the most prominent example is like a PC or a notebook, where you often also have the sticker Intel inside, and it's basically the brain of the overall device. But we're also like in data centers, like the big servers. We're in cars. We're in household goods. So it's a very big range of products, but everything that's kind of technical helps to push further digitalization. There's a chip in it, and the likelihood that's in Intel chips is fairly high, and you can think of it as like the brain of the device.
And can you, just for context, in a very short, simple form, if possible, explain why are we so short on chips now? What happened?
So the pandemic happened, and it's always hard to forecast the needs, what you really need. It's always hard to predict a forecast. And when like the pandemic started, spending went down, people didn't buy new cars or anything like that. And then when things opened up again, there was like a huge splurge in spending. And this is what the economy didn't expect. When it comes to car, like people started to buy more cars because they wanted to avoid public transportation. So there was like a huge uptick in car manufacturing, and they hadn't planned for it. So this kind of made it difficult then to supply the demand, as it was not necessarily forecasted.
The CHIPS Act recently passed in the United States. Is there anything in the CHIPS Act in the United States that benefits or will help Intel in terms of producing more chips or producing more products in the United States?
So we are heavily investing. We're heavily investing in the United States and also in the European Union. And of course, it helps us to have like strong government support and backing. But the CHIPS Act, the U.S. CHIPS Act, is for the overall industry. So it's really important, not just for us, but the overall industry and also the whole ecosystem, which is like kind of surrounding the semiconductor industry, to foster it, to support it financially in certain way, because it's an important device, or it's an important important part because everything becomes more digital. So this means we will be needing further and more chips in the future.
Would you say that there has been an over-reliance in terms of what was wise economically, an over-reliance on chips made in Asia?
Well, we've seen an unbalance in the global supply chain. So currently, it's like 80% is being produced in Asia and 20%, it's like the split between the United States and the European Union. So it's 80-20. So our long-term goal as within the industry is to kind of come to 50-50. So 50% Asia and 50% then between the United States and the European Union. Also, the European Union, they have very ambitious goal to double their chip production until 2030 from currently around 9-10% to 20%. So the government, like here in the European Union and also in the United States, understand how important semiconductors are and want to make sure that these small little processors are being also manufactured in the European Union and the United States.
In hindsight, nobody expected the chip shortage, but was there something that we can do now to ensure that's not likely to happen again?
This is why we are investing. So these are like these heavy investments. We're talking billions and billions of investments we're making. So one part is like with a new site in Ohio. That's the first Intel site, manufacturing sites within 40 years. We're already also investing and expanding in existing manufacturing sites like in Oregon, in New Mexico, or in Arizona. And when it comes to the European Union, we already have like a big manufacturing site in Ireland. This is being currently expanded. And then the other one is in Magdeburg in Germany, which is a greenfield site. So currently potatoes and wheat are growing there. And this is where we're planning to build a mega fab.
In terms of Intel's growth, is this the biggest period of growth in some time?
It's the biggest investments we've been making. So just as an example, so the site in Magdeburg, the initial investment is 17 billion euros, which is roughly $20 billion. And that's just one part of the overall investment. So the Ohio investment is a similar number. And then also the expansion into the different sites, it's usually 20, 40, 80 billion. So roughly you can say like for 2 modules of an Intel factory where chips are being manufactured, you could say it's an investment of $20 billion.
So are you saying, is this the biggest single initiative Intel's had?
Yeah.
Okay.
It is.
All right. Anything else you want to add?
I was wondering, so I did talk to Daniel also beforehand, like, I don't know if this is of any interest, like why Intel chose Magdeburg or why Intel chose Germany. I know it was a big surprise for many because we're just it's a very expensive country to invest. It's not,
so let's not
cheap.
About that. Why Germany? Why this area in particular when it's not cheap?
So all in all, we had like, when we made the announcement that we're going to invest in the European Union, we had like 60 to 80 applications, and out of these 60, 80 applications, we chose Magdeburg. Magdeburg is the capital city of Saxony-Anhalt. It's not that far from Berlin. It's like 1.5 hour train ride away. And the main 3 reasons were like its people. So from the start, collaboration and communication was excellent. There's a lot of excitement that we're coming. The second one was location. So we need huge space to build this factory. And the third one is infrastructure. So highways, waterways, and also like infrastructure around universities, research institutes, things like that.
Did these countries that were making a bid to get the factory promise accommodations or tax incentives or anything?
So that's like a whole package. So we have a very thorough application process where we looked into all these kind of different things. Is there enough housing? If not, what can be done? Is there enough water supply? Is there enough electricity? Things like that. Is it sustainable electricity or power sources? So these things were part of the application process. and like Magdeburg ticked all the boxes. It's a wonderful city.
Not only is Intel spending $20 billion to build a mega factory in Germany, it's making a similar investment in Ohio, its first new manufacturing site in 40 years, and Intel is expanding sites in Ireland, Oregon, New Mexico, and Arizona. My full report on all of this, again, is Sunday, November 13th. To find out how to watch in your area, you can go to SharylAttkisson.com and click the Full Measure tab. You'll see the TV listings for times and days. You can also go to fullmeasure.news on Sunday and watch it live at 9:30 a.m. Eastern Time right there online, or watch replays at fullmeasure.news just about any time afterward. If you like this podcast, I hope you'll share it and leave a great review, as well as check out my other podcast, the Sharyl Attkisson Podcast. And I can't leave this week without reminding you to visit the Sharyl Attkisson store by going to SharylAttkisson.com and clicking the Store tab for products with cool slogans for independent thinkers. Slogans like, do your own research, make up your own mind, think for yourself, or I tested positive for critical thinking. It's time to start thinking about Christmas, and the proceeds from sales at the Sharyl Attkisson store benefit independent journalism. Do your own research, make up your own mind, think for yourself.